Thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gamansing. The special legislative hearing scheduled for today, Wednesday, was canceled. A majority of senators had petitioned for the special session to talk about legislation to dismantle Juan Louis Hospital's board. But after two of the board's members resigned, there was no need for the hearing. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
Juan Louis Hospital's board has no power. The governor's office announced late Tuesday that he had accepted resignations from two of the board's members, Attorney Key Walker, who stepped down as chair Monday afternoon during an emergency board meeting, and Imelda Dizan. Their departure leaves the five-member board without a quorum to make decisions.
I had a series of discussions with the governor. Before 5 o'clock, he called me and sent me the copy of the resignation of both Ms. Dizan and also Ms. Key Walker, effectively dismantling the board.
A majority of senators, led by Senator Alicia Hansen, had signed a petition to hold a special session to dismantle the board. Senate President Sean Michael Malone granted the request since 10 senators had signed the petition. But late Tuesday, news came that the senators had withdrawn their petition and Senator Malone canceled the hearing. The shakeup started after interim CEO Dr. Kendall Griffith resigned earlier this month and then took his grievances to senators who took up the charge to have him reinstated.
That leaves the territorial board to manage, or not manage, but supervise the CEO at this time, and certainly give Mr. Griffith the opportunity to display and to manage the hospital rather than the micromanagement that the board was attempting.
Juan Louis Hospital has been struggling financially for several years. The board and hospital officials have repeatedly warned that the hospital can't survive without a cash infusion. Former board chair Walker said she would step aside if her doing so meant the medical center would finally get the monetary help they've been pleading for. She said her commitment has been to the hospital and the community it serves. In the meantime, Senator Hansen said she and the governor will be working to fill the vacancies for the 9-member board. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Now, 9 seats of the hospital's board were already vacant. The 2 resignations leaves the board with only 3 members and no quorum. Juan Louis Hospital officials will have to appear before senators next Tuesday for the finance budget hearing. Meanwhile, in light of serious concerns shared by St. Croix senators regarding the Juan F. Louis Hospital, Senator Tregenza Roach joined in signing the petition requesting the attention of Senate President Sean Michael Malone for a special session, which was scheduled to take place today, as we previously mentioned, on St. Thomas. The session, however, was canceled as a result of actions taken by the hospital board on Tuesday evening. The driver of a Toyota Camry was issued a citation for negligent driving after a head-on collision on Brookman Road on St. Thomas that left a 13-year-old girl trapped inside a car and suffered a broken femur. The Camry was heading west on Brookman Road around 11:15 a.m. when it collided head-on with a Suzuki Vitara on Tuesday, which was heading east. The daughter of the man driving the Vitara was trapped in the front seat for about 30 minutes. St. Thomas rescue officers used the jaws of life, and then she was rushed to the Schneider Hospital. Police say the driver of the Camry was uninjured, but the driver of the Vitara had a fractured left thumb. Senior government officials, along with senior officers of the VI National Guard, have been attending a 2-day seminar co-hosted by Vitima and members from the Department of Defense. It's a Defense Support to Civilian Authorities presentation.
The reason they are here and they're holding this 2-day seminar is to have the local authorities really understand the capabilities and what the Department of Defense have to bring to bear to support us.
All disasters are local, and most of them are handled locally. But when the Department of Defense, which is the last in a long line of chain to come to the rescue, or if their capabilities or capacity is needed, what happens is, how do you get to us? What authorities do we have? What capabilities and capacity do we bring with us? And how best to access us?
Well, Vitima officials say there is no cause for alarm. A technical malfunction caused the tsunami siren in the Lindbergh Bay area of St. Thomas to activate earlier this afternoon, about 3:45 p.m. No warning has been issued for the Virgin Islands. Again, Vitima says no alert or warning has been issued. The tsunami siren was activated because of a technical malfunction. Crime Stoppers need your help to solve the following crimes. They're reminding you that law enforcement can't control crime without the community's help. So if you know something, say something. Remember, even the smallest bit of information could be the clue that helps to close a case. Police say on St. Croix, Tuesday, July 9th at 2 p.m., they responded to a call of shots fired in a home in Estate Glen. When they arrived, they found that a young mother and child had been shot. 27-year-old Kyna Lawrence and her 7-year-old son, Devontae Charles, died as a result of the shooting. If you saw something or a vehicle or anything unusual, speak up and help solve this tragic double homicide. Legislation that will get technical help to the territories to reduce their dependence on fossil fuels. It passed the House Energy and Commerce Committee on Wednesday. The bill, H.R. 83, sponsored by Delegate to Congress Donna Christensen and co-sponsored by the territorial delegates, was voted out of committee by unanimous consent. Companion legislation is in the Senate Omnibus Territories Bill, which is currently before the Senate Energy and Resources Committee. H.R. 83 requires the Secretary of Interior to assemble a team of technical, policy, and financial experts to address the energy needs of the insular areas of the United States and the freely associated states through the development of action plans. It also requires technical assistance on the increased use of indigenous clean energy resources. Repealing a 2007 law codifying the division between the Supreme and Superior Court would cut duplicative expenses for the courts, which have seen reduced funding and need more money than was budgeted for in 2014. According to testimony from Supreme Court Chief Justice Reese Hodge during a budget hearing, the Supreme Court contracted the National Center for State Courts to assess the court system, and the NCSC draft study found between $1.5 and $1.8 million in duplicate, wasteful spending every year. Several senators expressed support for the potential change, but no votes were taken at the information gathering budget hearing. Well, at the last minute, crews headed off a water emergency outside the nation's capital. But residents and business who were told they wouldn't have water during a week with temperatures in the mid-90s are still feeling the impact. Daniel Nottingham reports from Fort Washington, Maryland.
Restaurants in this Washington, D.C. suburb had plenty of empty tables Wednesday. They were told to close their doors because there would be no running water. Officials warned about 200,000 residents in Prince George's County, Maryland, their water would be shut off for 3 to 5 days while crews made emergency repairs to a pipeline. But the utility company found a way to keep the water flowing after everyone had already stocked up on bottled water and hotels had emptied out their rooms.
As soon as I heard about what was going on, I filled up all the glasses with tap water and the bottles, and then I took a shower, of course, and then I filled up the tub with water and left it there just in case.
Here at the National Harbor, a busy area for conventions, at least one group had to pick up and move to a hotel outside the affected area. National Harbor officials say the shutdown of this area for just one day will cost hotels and restaurants hundreds of thousands of dollars.
The people that have planned for conventions and vacations and all those things, are certainly disappointed with disruption.
Prince George's County says water restrictions are still in place and residents need to continue to conserve water until the pipeline repair is complete. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, Fort Washington, Maryland.
Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, Chrysler is recalling more than 45,000 Ram trucks because of problems with the electronic stability control system. The recall affects Ram 1500 4x4 trucks built between June of 2012 and February of this year. The stability control system helps vehicles stay upright and maintain the right direction, even if the driver swerves or loses control. The disabled system increases the risk of a crash, but so far none have been reported. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all up. The Dow 18, Nasdaq 11, S&P 4. Coming up on News 2, the latest on the Zimmerman murder trial. Plus, Lieutenant Governor Gregory Francis seeks to level the playing field for Virgin Islands farmers. Find out what that's all about. Lieutenant Governor Gregory Francis seeks to level the playing field for Virgin Islands farmers by reaching out to the Office of the United States Trade Representative for that agency's assistance in lifting prohibitions that presently do not allow Virgin Islands farmers to export their produce outside of the territory. News2's Shanika Robinson has more.
Lieutenant Governor Gregory Francis has written Tom Vilsack, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, to bring his attention to the trade issues affecting the expansions of the territory's agricultural industry.
Earlier this year, I was attending a conference in D.C., and we had a briefing with the ambassador for government relations at the President Obama level, and she indicated to the lieutenant governors that she was in the process of meeting with officials from Mexico to set up some trade agreements. So I asked the question, what about the Virgin Islands? Because our farmers, our local farmers, are restricted from exporting their produce. I wrote the letter to the Secretary Vilsack. So I figure if I go directly to the Secretary, we will get some response.
Lieutenant Governor Francis is hopeful that his communication with the agencies will initiate dialogue that will lead to greater economic opportunities for local farmers. Francis sees the removal of trade restrictions as a lifeline for the territory's agricultural industry.
If you go to the local supermarkets and buy apples, oranges, grapes, you decide to go off island tomorrow, you know you have to dispose of your fruits at the TSA during the checkpoint. Although those fruits came in from the United States, we have to dispose it, although because it's leaving the Virgin Islands. And I don't think that's fair.
According to Francis, lifting trade restrictions not only benefit farmers, but could lead the way for the economic growth of other local industries.
My intent is to actually make it available in the event the farmers and the residents want to take local fruit to their loved ones and individuals. We have a lot of Virgin Islanders who's living abroad, and I know they would be excited to get mangoes and the different local fruits.
Shaniqua Robinson, News 2.
On Saturday, July 27th, the Virgin Islands Department of Agriculture will be hosting its first annual Value-Added Market Day Vendorama at the agricultural grounds on St. Croix, and that's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now, whether you live on island or away, the St. Croix Landmark Society urges everyone to come home to St. Croix every July. The week-long celebration of the same name began Sunday and continues all this week. It's a celebration of culture, history, and family that promotes the preservation of St. Croix's cultural heritage through family reunions, family research, and other activities. Tonight will feature a forum called Crucian Spoken Here, that's from 7 to 9. There will be a presentation also on Thursday on Sandy Point, as well as a grand quadrille with Stanley and the 10 Sleepless Nights. A Danish jazz pianist will perform Saturday. Now, for more information and the full schedule, you can log on to stcroixlandmarks.com's website. The Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands has new leadership in place. Board members unanimously elected Attorney George Dudley as chairman, Alda Monsanto as first vice chair, Victoria B. Saunders as second vice chair, Trudy Pryor as secretary, and William Graham as treasurer. During an annual meeting, now 4 new directors were also elected to the board: Scott Barber, Angelina Daswani, Letty Hulsman, and Mark Robertson. Ricardo Sharaff, who stepped down after serving as CSVI's chair for the past 12 years, was named chairman emeritus by unanimous vote. Well, the definition of self-defense is now under scrutiny. Here's the latest in the Zimmerman murder trial as protesters crowd Florida's Capitol to demand the law be repealed.
The definition of self-defense is under scrutiny.
What people should understand is that in terms of the law, this is a very cut and dry case.
McGeorge professor John Myers says Florida's self-defense law that led to George Zimmerman's acquittal is similar to California's. The language is nearly identical. The phrase "stand your ground" referenced in Zimmerman's trial, stand your ground is also written into California's criminal law. Professor Myers says every U.S. state follows the same basic definition of self-defense.
There must be an imminent, unlawful, deadly attack. The person must honestly believe in the need for self-defense. Their belief has to be reasonable, and they cannot be the first aggressor. Those are the elements of self-defense. Some would then add on the element, you must retreat if you can safely do so. That's where the retreat comes in.
I am concerned about this case.
Following the Zimmerman trial, the U.S.'s top cop, Attorney General Eric Holder, is calling for a re-examination of self-defense definition.
We must examine laws that take this further by eliminating the common sense and age-old requirement that people who feel threatened have a duty to retreat.
A jury's verdict that Trayvon Martin's death broke no law may now lead to a change in how the laws are written.
The whole idea of self-defense is we do not want people to act in self-defense unless it's absolutely necessary.
Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.